Welcome back. You're watching The Money Show on ET Now. We've been discussing foreign education, students making a beeline to, go to their chosen university abroad. But let's assess really how the importance of getting a foreign education has changed. Has it changed? Has the importance been undermined now? Is it really worth getting that education abroad, especially when we are living in a very assimilated, globalized world? Additionally, what are all the hidden charges that you may not even be aware of, which come along with going for a foreign education? We'll discuss all of this with Suchita Surve. She's the director with Growth Center. Suchita, thank you so much for joining us today on ET Now. It's after 2 years that Indian students will once again get the opportunity to go abroad and get their foreign education physically. Last year's academic year was completely thrown for a toss, but now once again we've had this opportunity and students are lapping it up. They're making beelines and queues to passport offices, to visa centers, etc. But do you believe in the last 2 years the world has changed to the extent that going physically to a university, procuring a foreign education, the value of all of that has been undermined? Do you think that, or do you think it's still very much worth going for that foreign education?
A wonderful question, I must say, because even we are facing the same kind of questions from a lot of parents. Is it worth sending our children abroad, especially during these times? We need to understand the biggest reason that the kids are going abroad is for the experience of a global, you could say, interaction. And most importantly, the kind of courses, curriculum, majors, choices, and an overall international exposure that they are getting. I would say it would be wrong on our part to say just because we are online, this entire concept of learning is going to be diluted. The experience, the kind of curriculum, the kind of electives that these students get there is definitely still worth it. So I think, in fact, this year we've had a lot of students who are looking forward to go abroad and study because of various reasons. They might have postponed it, but we still have a good number of students because when we speak about studies abroad, it's always about the international exposure. It's always about the curriculum, the majors, the global experience that you have. And I believe when you're in a foreign country studying with so many nationalities, the kind of value addition it brings to your personality is something I think it's over the years you can understand how much you have gained out of it. So I still think it's worth it that the students are considering going abroad still.
Okay, so very much worth still going abroad. But tell me, Suchita, how has the experience changed? Because, last year we had all of these lockdowns. It was not one, there were multiple waves. Students were as well perplexed what they should do. Should they come back? Should they stay there? There was a lot of confusion around that. Now, I think there's a bit more confidence really that we're done with it, at least abroad, not back home, but at least abroad in the US. It looks largely they're confident that they're done with it and there perhaps won't be any more very drastic waves of COVID that we will be seeing. So does that provide some more security of being able to get consistent and quality and offline education that students are paying so much for when they go abroad?
Yes, of course. I think, and we should hope for the same, that the situation is better everywhere. And I believe the universities abroad are taking utmost care to ensure the safety of the students, whether it's from a sanitization point of view, vaccination point of view, providing classes which will be, ensuring the social distances. I think students can be more confident now, whether even if another wave happens or even if the students are there, they are in a better position to handle themselves there because now they have got into the system. They know what online is. And honestly speaking, this year, and since it's been almost a year and a half, students have, been able to adjust and adapt themselves to this online system. So I think students are going to be more confident. Parents are also going to feel a little more safer. Yes, their anxieties are expected and natural. But I believe the confidence and the preparations that the universities are doing there, I think students should be comfortable enough in going ahead.
Okay, so we do have some semblance of certainty this time around versus last year in terms of the education being consistent, and in terms of the fact that it is going to be more of an offline model rather than an online one, because like Suchita said, you're going over there to absorb the culture, to absorb the experience, and really there's no point if you're going to be cooped up in your dormitory room or in your apartment and then getting that education, because then you'd rather be doing that back home as well. Getting an education abroad is expensive, so you need to ensure that you get your money's worth. So Chitra, compared to pre-COVID times and now, how do you see the budget for a foreign education change? Do you think universities are being a little more flexible in terms of the fees they charge international students? Because at the end of the day, they as well have suffered quite a bit due to COVID. How have you seen the budgets that students require change between pre-COVID and now?
Honestly speaking, you are right in terms of the budgets have changed. Universities are also trying and ensuring that the students and more international students join them. But from an expense point of view, a lot of things are involved there. I mean, the biggest expenses that we see today are tuition fees and airfare, along with the housing and accommodations that are there. So I think from a point of view that the expenses pre and post COVID, I think they are at par. Universities are offering multiple options to students, from offering them flexibility, and students are also, a lot of them also have opted for staying in India, taking the online option and then going abroad, maybe joining the campuses a little later on. So the kind of options, from the housing availability, the accommodation that we're talking about, the kind of you could say academic stationaries that are required. Now students have started working out already to figure how they can best manage the finances that are available, and universities are giving them options. In fact, more and more universities are coming ahead and offering options to students, whether it is scholarships, whether it's some kind of need-based specific scholarships, or any kind of bursaries that are possible. They are trying to offer and attract students, so that they do not lose out on the international, interaction and concept that they have always been harping about, the kind of experience that students abroad get. So I think the changes are evident, but not so much that we can take it easy and say, oh, everything is free and I can go ahead and have just a gala time or just study there. So students have to prepare for financially as well.
What are the expenses, according to you, Suchitra, that many a time students forget to account for? Usually, we look at the university, we look at the tuitions, the credits that you need, so on and so forth, and then roughly work out the tuition fee that you will have to pay. But obviously, getting a foreign education is not just that. You spoke a little bit about, flight expenses, etc. What are the expenses that we often don't account for, especially after we've reached our place of education?
Yeah. One thing we need to understand, that our students, especially if they're undergraduates, they've never handled anything about finances or money. So suddenly when they have to handle their finances on their own, it becomes a little overwhelming for them. They're not able to understand how much they should or they have been spending so far. So the kind of hidden expenses, but these are our day-to-day expenses. We've seen students get stuck in terms of whether it's grocery, the shopping that they are doing once they reach the campus, the kind of lifestyle they want to have, the kind of clothes they want to wear, medical insurance. There is travel apart and parcel, because if you're staying off campus or maybe far away from the institute, commuting is another issue. Insurance is another aspect that they have to keep in mind. And not to forget that today we are living in an age where all the latest gadgets and devices are always sought after by the students. So obviously, those kind of expenses are also a part and parcel of a student life. Also, hopefully, whenever the campuses open up, the kind of social life the students want to have, whether it is outings or any kind of weekend parties or anything, even that's an expense they have to figure out. Having said this, students also need to understand the kind of course that they're joining. If they are joining a course which requires a lot of assignments, submissions, so obviously that academic related stationery expenses, printouts, USB drives, they might sound trivial, but they are something that we need to account for and be prepared with. So I think these are the areas which students need to focusing on. And also currently, if they are at home, they better learn to manage their expenses.
Well, Suchita, it's a pleasure having you with us today on the show. Thank you so much for giving us this 101 on the value of a foreign education today and all the little nicks that a lot of students tend to miss out on. Thanks once again.
Thank you so much.